Bismillah wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man tamassaka bi sunnatihi ila yawm ad-din. Amma ba'd. Inshallah ta'ala, before commencing, I want to apologize for the late start. Qadarallahu ma sha fa'ala. We know the Muslims are always on time, alhamdulillah. So alhamdulillah, we started a little bit late. We had some complications, but alhamdulillah that we're here together, so everybody's here safely, and inshallah we can commence. So we commence in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most gracious, the most merciful. We send salutations of prayers and peace upon Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, upon his companions, his family, and all who follow him in righteousness unto the day of judgment. Verily, the best speech is the book of Allah Jalla wa Ala, and the best guidance or guiders is that of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I would like to begin by welcoming you all to this wonderful event. I want to first thank our brothers Salatul Rahman and brother Danny for putting this together along with Muna. My beloved brothers and sisters, prior to commencing with the session, I want to lay down some ground rules, inshaAllah ta'ala. We are here today so that we can share with you our experiences and so that you can do the same with us. I do not want this session to be one in which we are judging each other based on our statements, stories, questions, and the likes. We are not here as judges. Rather, we are here as brothers and sisters who are here to support one another and help each other overcome the everyday struggles that we face here in America. Our brothers here are opening up to you, sharing with you their stories, their experiences, their challenges, so that we can all realize how relevant and challenging life is for everyone. These stories, moments, and the likes will be shared with you, and these things should aid us in surpassing some of the obstacles that we currently have in our lives. These brothers, like yourselves, have gone through things in order to reach the point that they currently are in within their lives. We should always be able to learn from those who have preceded us, so that we do not make the same mistakes and errors that others have made. The intelligent one is the person who can see the error of another person and not fall into that same mistake. A basic example of this is watching a person put his hand into a fire and getting burnt. When we realize that fire burns, then we too will not want to place our hands in the fire, and we will do whatever we can so that we can avoid getting burnt like the person who we saw get burnt. And this principle can be applied to everything within our lives. Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. I want everyone here to be able to ask questions, to interact with us, to be open. We're not fearing that we're going to judge you. I will not allow us to make fun of each other based on a question that was asked sincerely. This type of behavior for us is going to be unacceptable. You should be able to ask questions without fear of being looked down upon, without fear of being bullied, without fear of being made fun of. The Quran is a healing for mankind, and it is not meant to throw people away, to push them away, to discard them. Rather, it is meant so that we can embrace them and deal with the issues that they are all facing. I do want us to enjoy ourselves, as I do not want it to be a dry session where we are all looking at each other with serious faces, not smiling, but that at the same time we can have a little bit of fun. We want you to be relaxed, comfortable, while being able to express what's on your mind regarding the topics that we will present and deal with. If after the program we have time to deal with issues that are outside of the topics that we chose to discuss today, then inshallah ta'ala we will try to make ourselves available for those particular topics or questions. After the program, personally, I'll make myself available for about 20 minutes if anybody has questions that they want to ask personally, that they're too shy to ask out loud. And I'm pretty sure Brother Basil and Brother Abdullah will do the same, inshallah ta'ala. Brother Mujahid, we'll have to exclude him, unfortunately, because he's online, unless we put you on a private chat with him, inshallah, via the computer. Something we can look into. Anytime during the interview with these brothers, if you have questions for them regarding the stories and experiences that they're going to be speaking about, we don't want you to wait to the end. Inshallah, you can raise your hand, or you can go ahead and write the question down. I don't know if we pass paper out to people, but we can go ahead and write the question down and send it up, and we can deal with those things, because we want it to be interactive. We can deal with them as we're talking to our beloved brothers up here, inshallah ta'ala. So we do have a time limit, unfortunately, and we're running late. So we may not take a large myriad of questions regarding one issue, but we will do the best we can, inshallah ta'ala. Tayyib, inshallah, Danny, if we can at least just get it up to that first slide. Okay, Tayyib. Barakallahu feek. So inshallah, brothers, I would like to first begin by asking our brothers to briefly inform us of how they became Muslim and what drove them out of that darkness of disbelief into the light of Islam. And this question in particular is going to be for our brothers Mujahid and Abdullah, since we know brother Basil, mashallah, he was born Muslim, and we have a special question just for him. So inshallah ta'ala, we'll commence with brother Abdullah. Inshallah, if you can briefly inform us.
Assalamu alaikum. The way I became Muslim was, I got kicked out of my high school years. I was going through some bad stage in my life, so I was forced to get a job. You know, I couldn't be on the streets no more. My parents, you know, they had enough, so they told me to get a job. And I got a job in BJ's in Rule 17. I worked there with my supervisor, who was Muslim, Jordanian, and for 3 months, his name is Hamza. And I was just watching him the whole time. He was always working hard, he was never lying, he was never stealing time, and he was always looking forward to do a better job every day. Little by little, I started noticing that he was different. He was different from everybody else at work. So it made me think, you know, what's making him be like this? What's making him not talk about others? What's making him not look at girls? What's making him, you know, work so hard? You know, he's still getting paid the same regardless. So one day I was joking with him when I was working. Now I asked him, you know, I was asking him some questions. I wanted to bust his chops. So I asked him, how many gods do you believe in? And he was like, 1. So I was like, okay, beginner's luck. So then I asked him, do you believe in Moses? He said, yeah. So when he said, yeah, I was surprised. I was like, that means you believe in Abraham. He was like, yeah. So then I started thinking, and I waited a little bit, and I came back and I asked him the $1 million question. And I said, do you believe in Jesus? And he started laughing, and he said, yeah. So after that, I wanted to know what was different, you know. I wanted to know why Muslims are being targeted on TV and the media if we have the same beliefs. So he started telling me that that's all false statements that they're making against the Muslims, and that Islam is a religion of peace, and we believe in one God. And when he said we believe in one true God, that's what really affected me. So I told him to take me to the masjid. He took me to a masjid in Broadway on ICPC, and I remember I walked in during Isha. I sat down and prayed. First time I listened to the Quran, I had a different feeling. You know, I felt like I was touched by it. And then, but it was different for me to become Muslim at the time, because I was from Union Ave, literally the same street that we have in the event on. So it took me some time. I did some research, and then I got introduced to some brothers that were more from Patterson, because the brothers in ICPC, they were more from Wayne, and I couldn't really relate to them, because, you know, being from the streets. So I was like, why these guys talk, you know, it was so proper and everything, how they dressed. So I met a brother that was from Patterson, his name was Murad, and we clicked right away, and after that I ended up taking my shahada.
You said that you had actually stopped going to school. This was at high school for you when you stopped going to school?
I got kicked out of my high school when I was a junior. So I became Muslim. After that, I started working. I became Muslim after.
How old were you when you became Muslim?
18.
18, Brother Mujahid, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
gonna pass me the mic? All right. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulullah. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
My experience is a little different than the average convert. I believe my experience, I was able to, even before I was introduced to Islam, I always had that natural inclination of a higher power. And in Islam, we know that that's the fitrah, and every child is born in the on the fitrah, as stated in the hadith, Sahih Muslim. So I always had this inclination that there's a greater purpose. And there was no religion taught in my house. I lived with my mom. She was somewhat religious, you know, once a year, I guess, Easter type of thing. But she didn't teach anything. My dad never taught any religion. But I always still had this natural feeling or this internal feeling that there was a greater purpose or some sort of higher power. During high school, I started searching for religion on my own. No one influenced. You know, it was by the will of Allah. I just started searching for a religion that would answer some of my questions. So I started checking out different Christians. I was baptized, born Catholic. So, but by default, really, I had no connection with the Catholic faith. It's just it was kind of bland for me. And the statues and all those different things, it didn't seem anything that I would want to pursue. But I was somewhat interested in the Christian faith. So it just so happened that my friend had a girlfriend that used to go to this church. And it's like one of those Hispanic churches that everybody dances and claps and all that. So we started going and we started hanging out. And I would ask a lot of questions. And my friend just went there for his girlfriend. But I would go there and I would sincerely ask questions and try to find out just some of the tenets of their faith. But I had some issue with Jesus, like most converts, and I had issues with just the application of Christianity. It seems like just on Sunday, people were Christians. But throughout the week, it was a different story, and I was a part of that. Some other feeling. I just wanted to share something that I thought of. I remember walking with my friend, and I remember he was going through some hard time. I think he had some trouble with his mom, and he was having some trouble in school. So he was kind of depressed. And I remember he said, I don't believe in God. He said, God wouldn't do this to me. And I wasn't Muslim, but at that moment that you know, I was fearful for him and for myself. I felt like, you know, like, man, we're about to be destroyed. And this is coming from an absolute non-Muslim, just a, you know, regular Hispanic kid, you know what I mean, from the streets, just nothing, you know, no religious background. But I had this fear when he said that. So I think all those things built up to eventually meeting a Muslim when I was 18, because my mom was going to kick me out if I didn't get a job because I wasn't doing anything, just hanging out all night. And so I got a job as a security guard, and it was a night shift. And I remember the first night I worked, this brother comes in. His name was Ramadan. He had a nice beard. He was well-spoken. He came in with a nice smile, smelled good, well, you know, polite. And he gave me a big smile and said hello. And you know, it's just like that's not that too common. You know what I mean? Like you think a guy, you know, you trying to kick it to your son, you know, smiling, all that smiling. You know, in Islam, it's something beautiful. You know, we smile at each other, but before Islam, you know, guys don't smile at each other for no reason. But it was kind of comforting and welcoming. So we sat down and we were just pretty much quiet, and I saw him pull out the Quran, and he had Arabic and English, and I kind of peeked over to see what he was reading, and I saw the script, the Arabic script with the English. So I finally worked up enough nerve to ask him what is he reading, and he said he's reading the Quran, and I never heard of the Quran, and he explained what the Quran was. He explained just basic Islam, you know, what they believe in, that they believe in the prophets and one God and all this. And I swear, without exaggeration, 3 minutes just hearing about Islam, I felt like all that journey that I mentioned before, which is a lot longer and more detailed, but all that journey led up to that moment. And I felt like at that exact moment, I mean 3 minutes of hearing about Islam, I felt like relieved. I felt like, man, this is what I was searching for all that time, all those years. And at that moment, if my pride wasn't in the way, I would have taken Shahada right there. I would have said, man, this is what I've been looking for. I want to become Muslim. But it's kind of like, you know, like when you got game and you know, you want to kick it to a girl, you kick it to her friend, and then you go to the girl type of, you know, it's just a dumb mentality, man. You know, just trying to, just basically my pride got in the way. So I didn't tell him, you know, but I started asking him, you know, basic questions. Then day 2, we went to work again, and I was asking questions like if I was already a Muslim, like, can I do this? Is this basically haram and halal questions? Because I was already convinced that I was going to become Muslim. And on the 3rd day, I didn't ask him any questions. And I was just quiet because I was trying to build enough strength to tell him I want to become Muslim. This was a Thursday. I remember it was a Thursday. And I wasn't able to tell him, look, I want to become Muslim. But right before the shift ended, like 30 minutes before, I said, look, I want to visit a mosque. He said, well, tomorrow's perfect time because it's Friday. You can come visit the mosque and just check it out. So I went to the masjid in North Bergen, and it was all in Arabic. At that time, they weren't accommodating Americans because there weren't too many Americans, or especially Hispanics. But at the end, I prayed with them, Juma, and I told him, I turned to him, he asked me, what do you think? And I said, I'm ready, I want to become Muslim. I finally worked up the nerve. And I took my Shahada, and it was the best feeling I ever had, followed by the worst experience I ever had. Men lined up, kissing me on the cheek, and I was like, man, what is this? And I remember, you know, all these guys lining up, and I look at the line, and it got longer and longer. Every single guy was kissing me on the cheek, and then I remember this one old sheikh, like he was like about to cry, right? You know, like they were doing the Arabic kiss, like cheek to cheek. But this one old sheikh, you know, he was just really emotional and excited, and I remember he was looking at me crying, and he put his lips on my cheek. Like I felt his lips on my cheek, like he gave me a wet kiss, and I was like, man, all right, that's. I told Ramadan, I was like, look, man, I'm happy to be Muslim, but I gotta go, man. Like, you know. So I became Muslim in 97. 97. I've been Muslim since. I've been blessed to travel to various Muslim countries, done some studying. And I'm here with you today and happy to be with you. Wish I could have been there last week. I was there last week, but you guys had like half an inch of snow, so you canceled it. And I'm here today.
Alhamdulillah, barakallah.